Crawford's right up there. But it is that fight where you're in against a skillful puncher that's another weight division above you, and you could get beat. I would lean slightly towards Crawford because of his IQ, and because do you know what he's got as well? He's a dog. He's got that venom. He's got that spite and nastiness in him. Watching his fights beforehand and watching little clips of him where in the build-ups where people have gone at him and said little things, and then how spiteful he can turn. And he's got that bit of street thuggery about him, which sometimes I think you need when you're in these big challenges. You can't just be a nice guy. You can't just, have all full respect for everybody you're fighting and be all nice about it. Yeah, you got respect for him, but also you wanna go in there and do a job on him and smash him up. And I always get the feeling that Crawford's got that kind of edge to him, which I think might help him. But also he does get hit, and in all fights he gets hit. That's what makes him so exciting. And again, when you're stepping up in divisions and you're fighting guys that can punch in these higher weight divisions. Remember, Crawford's come from like 135, and when you're going up through divisions, sooner or later you get hit, you get buzzed off something that's just that bit too big. It can change the course of a fight. So I don't know. It's a really good fight. I'm really excited for it.
Do you feel like Madrimov's record is maybe missing one or two names there to give you that full confidence to pick? A bit like Golovkin before he kind of to the tail end of his career, didn't?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So this is his breakout fight, isn't it? Let's be real. He's just won the title, and his first defense is like, I'm going to go in against pound for pounder. Not let me have a fight first, and then we'll go over and do this. He's like, no, give me the big dog. That tells you his confidence. And like you say, there's a lot of good fighters out there that we don't actually know how good they are yet because they haven't had that breakout fight. They haven't had those names on the roster, But when you've watched them throughout the career, you know that they're very, very good. It's like Boots Ennis. You're looking at his career over the last, if you're looking at a couple of years back, the guy's really good, and you're just waiting for him to have these step out and breakout fights. Really, really good. Because that he's going to deliver when he steps through, and then when he does step up, then he's looking great each time he steps up. But this is a huge jump for Madrimov, a huge jump, a jump in IQ, a jump in skill set, fighting, old school fighting capabilities as well, which Crawford's got. It's just a really good fight. But yeah, I think we got a little bit on Madrimov, hold back a little bit because you see a potential, but you don't know how good he is because of he's not had the top fight. But should he win on Saturday night, then we're going to say, wow, then a new star is kind of born. It's like Golovkin. People looked at Golovkin throughout his career saying he's got no marquee names on his record. But you know what Golovkin is, and that's where you sometimes the depth of names on a record, on a resume, can stop people from rating people how these really could be potentially rated as.
Let's follow the line through. You're favouring Crawford to get the victory. I don't think it's much of a secret as to what the fight next would be for Crawford if he does get it, and that's Canelo Alvarez. And that would include another jump of weights and probably having to skip middleweight to go up to super middle. Surely that's a step too far.
So you would think, yes. But actually, I look at that fight and Canelo is huge, but not huge, right? I think Crawford's probably the same size, probably the same height, not much in it, maybe a little bit taller. Not sure, but Crawford's definitely got a longer reach. Crawford at this stage, especially as well. You look at the last few years, Canelo's movement is lowering. His foot movements nowhere near what it used to be. His punch activity is nowhere near what it used to be. His triggers and his feints are nowhere near what it used to be. He's a lot more one-dimensional. He's got a lot more one-dimensional. He's gone loading up on the power shots. Quite crude, a lot of times, quite crude. Mix them up with a few feints, which class, obviously, but still quite crude in his approach and looking to walk you down. Crawford's got great feet. Crawford can change angles. He can box on angles. He can mix his shots up. He's got a very good offense. He's got a very good defense. I actually give Crawford a really good shot against Canelo. And it sounds crazy, and you feel like you shouldn't be saying that, but it's just if Canelo was a usual sort of size, dimension, super middleweight, a 6 footer, quite rangy, long arms himself, and a bit more athletic in that respect, then I would say no way. It's just too big a jump. But I've seen, so I know it's sparring, but I've seen so many times when you've got people giving away a lot of weight, but the size difference isn't, the height difference isn't too much. They have got that massive long reach. It's just that the thicker set, and they've got slower feet. Then the guy that can box does all right. Now, obviously, it's different sparring head guards, bigger gloves to no head guards, and it'll be 10-ounce gloves at that weight. So it'll be different. But I just think that, I'm not saying Crawford beats him, but I'm saying that I wouldn't say I think even as it goes along, depending on how he looks against Madrimov, I might pick him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might pick Crawford over Canelo, and that's huge. That's like, wow, what you're talking about. But I'm just looking at what I see, the dimensions that Crawford's available to go out and perform, and what Canelo is now, not what Canelo is back in the day. Even when Canelo boxed, when I had Ryan Rhodes boxing, his style's completely different. Great, his feet were sharp. Even against Cotto, his shot selection and things like that. He's a completely different fighter now to what he was then. It's more brute force now, which is working. It is working. But a lot of the guys that he's been fighting, even good fighters, kind of get in there, and it's Canelo. I don't think Crawford's going to give a shit as Canelo. He's not going to get in that ring thinking, it's Canelo. Completely change up and think about what's coming back. He's going to go in there to do what he does. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, it sounds stupid. Saying it, think about it in your own head. I think Madrimov, just style-wise, as well as he can punch and he's sharp, I think he's a more of a complex opponent than what Canelo is at this stage. Canelo's very good, very strong, very powerful, and he's even though his feet aren't great, he knows I should keep walking down and keep applying pressure to you. But Crawford knows how to take that pressure away with that sort of more orthodox sort of walking you down. I might be chatting shit completely, but it's just how I see it in my head.
It's a very interesting dynamic. Obviously, we'll have to wait for this weekend to pass to know what the lay of the land is. Just want to get your take on quickly 2-1 here, the 2 fights in one. Which of these 4 heavyweights, Ruiz, Miller, Anderson, Bakole, is going to punch their ticket to world title contention after this weekend?
Bakole, Anderson, and who?
Ruiz, Miller.
Don't get me started on Jared Miller. I hope Ruiz punches his head in.
He's looking very fit.
Great. Is he clean? Is he clean for 12 weeks he's been preparing for. Fair enough. Since the fight's been announced or whatever. I don't care. He's yeah. It's another one of these where it just frustrates me sometimes. But yeah, he got his face punched in by Daniel Dubois, which I was really impressed with and really happy about. Andy Ruiz, is he still light? Because I don't know if that works for him. I don't know if that works. You know, I don't mean for him to be as fat and overweight as what he was in the AJ rematch, but then he came back and he was really, really light, and I think he got dropped in a fight. So maybe that when you lose all that sort of weight and you're not got the same punch resistance. It's a good fight. It is a good fight. You know, I hope Ruiz wins. Bakoli against Jared Anderson is a really good fight. Really good fight. I don't know, you know, because if these sparring stories are true, and if Bakoli's as good as what the sparring sessions are, then I think Bakoli's gonna grind Anderson down. But I've been impressed with Jared Anderson until I don't know if it was his last fight. Was it his last fight, maybe? And it was like against who?
Charles Martin.
Yeah, Charles Martin. And I was like, it's still green. It's still quite green. Do you remember when Michael Grant was coming through?
Before my time.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks,
mate. I appreciate it.
Right. Okay. Well, there was an American heavyweight called Michael Grant. I see him as kind of like more manufactured heavyweights. He was a big dude that he thought he's massive. Let's turn him to boxing, and he was beating people. He was looking good and coming through. And then they put him against Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis demolished him. Then you never heard of him. Didn't really hear him. I think he fought a couple of times after, but you didn't really hear of him at any such level since. I'm not saying Anderson's like that, but I kind of remember thinking he's not. It doesn't seem like he's ready yet for the deep waters, for the tough fights. Yeah, I think maybe he could if Bakoli's as good, and I've watched Bakoli spar once, and I was like, shit. And this is a long time ago, and it was down at Team GB's gym, and he was relentless, and he was just like non-stop. And then obviously we've seen him in his fights, and it can be hot and cold in his fights, but his sparring stories are fantastic, are amazing. And if he recreates the sparring form, then I think it could definitely beat Anderson. I think it's a really good fight, a cracking fight.
Would it serve him well to come in heavy like he did against Takam? I know that they said that he was injured and that was part of the reason, but
I don't think it's with heavyweights. The problem is when people when you come in heavy, it can make them slower and cumbersome, and you don't need to be fat and slow to be stronger and impose your strength on somebody. Yeah, you still need to be sharp, still need to be fit to be able to keep that work rate going. So whatever his optimum weight is to get the best performance, fitness wise, engine wise, and and mobility wise, because that's what he is. His strength is when he's walking you down and his shot selection and throwing, grinding you down. If he's not fit enough because he's too heavy, if he's not fit enough to throw those sort of punches after you get past 5 rounds, it's not good. His kind of forte in this is going to be taking Anderson into deep waters, putting him in through the mixer as the fight goes along. Anderson might look sharp and good early doors, but Bakoli might be catching a lot of the shots. He's very, very experienced. He's been in sparring, but he's been in with the top fighters, sparring for a lot of years, a lot of rounds. And so he's going to be the more experienced in there. So if he's fat and slow, he's not going to be able to capitalize on that really. So whatever his weight is, where he's fit, then I think I fancy him to cause an upset, I suppose, on the world scene. You know, I don't tend to listen to. I get on really well with Bill Nelson, but I know he can go a little bit much with him. You know, with inflatables, inflating the egos. But from what I've seen of the Cole, he's an handful, mate. And if he could reproduce that, then I fancy him to beat Anderson. And I like Anderson. I've rated him, as a good prospect coming through. But I think that fight, I just thought to myself, is he ready for the hard fights? Is he quite tough enough? I don't know. I'm not sure.